Welcome back to this week's episode of What is the Joker Skill, or Who is the Joker? So rather than have a special guest this week, we thought Ed and I would start off with what was the special skill that we learned that's different from the pillars, so what we talked about with ACEs, that really made a difference for you in your sales career or in your work career. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And then Ed, you want to start with yours? You want me to start with mine? What do you think?
I don't care. We'll flip a coin. Heads or
I
tails?
think you can go first. Ladies first.
Then go ahead.
Oh,
Aren't you Mr. Funny Man?
Doesn't work in my favor.
Doesn't Mr. Funny Man?
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't realize this. So I didn't, even though I had the Joker, I thought the Joker for me was all the education I was getting on sales and going all the different training. I was trying to get so much better at sales than anybody else I knew and understand the process and going through there. Well, I sold by the phone, and it wasn't until later in life I realized I had a good voice. And so for selling by the phone, it's important you can connect with people. People will like to hear from you. If I was, what's that Godfrey's name? The guy that was so, his voice was so annoying.
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah, thank you. If I had that voice, you could not sell by the phone. You need to sell on video or in person, because people just don't want to hear it. It's or in that movie when they go to the camp anyway, they're staring at some dude, and he comes walking over. He's all buff, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" He doesn't sound like the voice should be coming out of that. Yeah. And people go, "Do you think that's well?" I'm on radio now. I do a lot of things, and I didn't realize until then. And my wife tells me the first time I called her ward, they were like, "Hey, there's a guy on here with a really nice voice."
But you got your wife from a ward, like a mental ward?
Yeah. I'm talking, exactly. That's correct. And next time when she sees you, she'll take care of you. So don't worry about it. Yeah. No, she worked at a hospital, and so she was on the 4th floor, and that's the ward, by the way. You paid in my butt. So and a lot of people are like, well, how does that help you? If you come across with your voice and you know what you're talking about, people are going to go with you. You can hear crackling. It's like the first time you get on stage, you're not as comfortable. I brought up a while back that I was on that documentary, Hacking Real Estate. I could hear. It's why I couldn't stand listening to it a year later, because how much better I became talking on this or doing other stuff. Even radio, from the moment I started radio to now, I was like, wow, I was so nervous and then 20 minutes into it, it changed. And that's how it is in sales. People can know how you're coming across by your voice.
Well, even Chris Voss talks about it in Never Split the Difference, right? What does he call it? The late night DJ voice, when they were giving commands, or they said that's an authoritative voice. And that's why we don't always trust people who talk fast unless they have a deeper voice, because we assume if people talk fast, it's a nervousness thing. So you can talk fast if you have a deeper voice. But if you talk fast and have a high-pitched voice, then it comes across as extremely nervous and or needy.
Right. And also,
go ahead. I was going to say, so if you are in a selling environment and you talk fast because you get excited and you have a high-pitched voice, it's not going to go well for you.
No, and for me, like if I'm leaving a message, I have a habit of like, and blah, 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 blah. You have to get to a point where it's like, okay, this is Ed Parco, give me a call 20. And I used to because I do it on radio. It's like 209-404-1915. My wife's like, stop leaving messages like that. People don't want to hear that. I'm like, that is just what I'm used to doing, because I'm on radio. I have to put it across. You want to get people to hear it, and you do different things. And that's how the different types of tones of someone's voice can make a difference, whether you're monotone, high pitch, low pitch, or I'd be more, I guess, low pitch. That's how it conveys different meanings in sales, just like you said. And that's important to understand those things. And I don't want to get in for like a whole half hour about my voice and why it's different, but if you have a good voice, there's a lot of stuff you can do.
Well, that's why there's even courses on how to control the pitch and rate of your voice. How do you use tonality? That's an important part of almost any sales program, is tonality of how you say things. Do you make things sound like a question in the end? Do you make them sound like a statement? All those come into play. And it is funny, while this isn't something you brought up, but I have a mirror right here past my camera to remember to smile. Because again, that's something that people can hear in your voice if they can't see you, is, are you smiling when you're talking to them?
Dude, we're on Jokers, not Aces.
I know, but it's still, it's one of them.
But he always, or at least a piece of paper that says smile, because
Right.
when I'm on radio, you can hear, yeah, this is Ed Parco. I'm here today, and this is what's going on. Or hey, this is Ed Parco. I'm here today. It's a totally different word. And that's why we used to raise up desks. We used to stand up in the office, right? Because we didn't have those. Yeah, I'm old, and we just didn't have them. And so you'd stand up anyway. Well, you come across so much better standing up in the first place. And I learned this from being in the Navy. Come from your diaphragm, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't understand that when you're talking, to breathe and use your diaphragm to get that across.
Right. Well, we're not, unless you are in voice lessons, you're not taught to control your voice. Like maybe like you, people did choir. I don't know.
Yeah. You're bringing up the whole minister thing. I got it. Yeah.
No.
If anybody wants to know, I became a minister to be the officiant for my son's wedding. So,
right.
And that happened in December. So,
yes.
And then my wife enjoys it for some reason.
But it's funny, right? We're taught wear a suit. We're taught all these different things, but we're not taught to control our voice. And that is the big thing, especially over the phone. This day and age is even more so important because most people live and die by text messages, right? So if you have to leave voicemails to convince somebody to call you back, it's more important of what you say and how you say it are the two most important parts of everything.
Because I know there's times where if I don't want to talk to somebody or I don't want anything back, I know how to leave that. Right. You can, it's oh yeah. This is you just easy. You don't want to do that, but it's important to know how you're coming across, and also how not only my tone and inflections in my voice, but your customer, right? On the phone, they're talking, I can hear the stress. Most people couldn't hear the stress, but I can hear the stress, and I'll say, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? What's the issue? Is this not a good time for you? And they're going to say, oh no, this happened. And we'll talk about that. And now you just connected with your client because they know that you care, right? They don't know how much you know until you know how much you care, something like that. Yeah. And it's important to connect. And I sold by the phone for 18 years. And it all started when I first got in the mortgage industry. We had a huge downturn. And then I went to work for Blue Cross, or it was Blue Shield. Can't remember. They're in Thousand Oaks, whoever they are. And I was in the small business department. And for the next 6 months, every day I was on the phone talking. And that's where I actually started listening to what clients were saying from the tones and inflections in their voice.
So the training I went to earlier in the week for police leadership, that was one of the things that they talked about is, are you listening to listen? Like, are you listening for keywords and everything else? Whereas most people listen just so they can wait or pause because I want to talk again. And they were talking about really active listening is listening for keywords. Can you repeat something back to the person instead of constantly thinking about your argument or whatever you want to talk about whenever they take a break?
Right. So yeah, all I do is want to talk over you. That's all it is. That's all I ever want to do. No, because there's time where we're like, oh, I want to get this out because we're talking about something, and then occasionally plus sometimes with your video drag, I might cut over you because you're maybe they could get some good Wi-Fi or
it's the Wi-Fi's fault that you interrupt.
Yeah. Shut up. No, and I know I'm bad for that, and sometimes you got to make sure, and don't do it to your clients. Because then they think you don't care. They only think you care about getting your point across and not what they have to say, and you have to be careful with that. And a lot of people don't. They're not. They think, okay, and don't worry, I was guilty of this in the past couple of years. I did it, and I didn't realize I was doing it, but it was because, how do I put this wrong? I didn't really want to be in with that client and the person and deal with that client. So occasionally they would say stuff, and I'm like trying to get them back on track and go down the path I want them to go. But in truth, I was actually being rude, and I should apologize. So
it's a lot of phone calls you're going to have to make.
Nope. They can watch the video.
Well, while we're talking
that was just rude because I did one time, not all the time. So stop it. Because I remember doing a few of my podcasts, and I had one person that I was listening, because it's called actively listening, right? I guess as you're doing it. And then I came back. Okay. So he's like, you were listening. Yes. That's what you're supposed to do on here. And that's the same thing with your clients. Listen to them. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Utilize the things that you have most of.
People pay attention to the wording you use too. That's one of the things they covered in that class earlier this week is take away the me, my, and I out of your statements. And it's funny. It was ironic that they covered that the other day because last Monday, a week ago, last whatever it was, Janine Driver has a body language course, and she hit me up. She's like, "Hey, you want to teach the course today?" And I did. And her feedback the next day was, "Cool content. What you got is great, but stop saying this is what I'm going to teach you or this is what I'm going to speak to, instead of this is what you'll be learning today." Because when you make it about them, instead of it sounds like, well, I'm up here to teach you this, instead of saying that, you say what we're here to learn today. That changes the dynamic of the relationship.
Right. And they're always you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so when I'm on air, right, they used to be listeners. No, they're not listeners. It's for you. And because what happens if you say you're for you listeners, they're like, they're not talking to me. I'm not a listener. And but it's about you, and it makes it more personal to them. And that's the same. Everything we do here, it's about you. Watching this, it's really about you. We want to get this point across to you. And that sounds so much better than we want to get it to everybody out there. No, we want to get it to you. And that's what you got to make it about, is that person or whoever your target client is, that person. It's all about them.
Well, everybody's got
a statement about them. You just cut over me. That's it.
Oh.
You're done. Out of here.
That's fine. Hold on. I can do that. Wait. Ready? Oh, damn it.
You figured it out. How'd you figure it out?
I don't know. Just put for last.
It's whoever's over there. It's over on that side. Whoever's over there.
Okay. So let's see. All right. There you go. Nope. Still back to me. Your theory is flawed.
No, because I removed me. So watch. So if I do it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, see, look. I'm still an amateur at this. So yeah. What can we say?
I'm gonna put you back over there.
All right.
Keep going.
Yeah. I forgot now. It made me laugh. Forgot.
You were talking over me, so I was giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
but it's again, it's about tones and inflections, not only yours but your clients, to understand. And I want to talk about, not right now, but I want to do a thing on active listening, because I think people are not active listening. It's about what they're trying to get across. They're so nervous. And you talked about before, commission breath. The first time you're doing it, you have to act like you have so much deals in the thing that you don't care about the transaction. It's all about them, and you don't care. Because if you're too nervous, you're doing this, it's going to come across. Because I know when people first get in my industry, they're always asked, how long you been doing this? And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If somebody asks you how long you've been doing this, what do you say, Brian?
It depends. Like, how long have I really been doing it?
How long have you been doing this?
This since 2011.
Yeah, but whatever. Nice. Yeah. What I tell people is just say it seems like forever.
So it's kind of like hanging out with you. Got it.
Seems like forever. That's correct.
That's right.
And you can send my royalties pretty soon there, buddy.
There you go.
No, but it's because people are like, oh, that's right. They're not going to push it, but you don't say, oh, it's my first day. Seems like forever. It's the easy way to put it.
In the verse of that, somebody was a bartender, said that every time a bartender screwed up, he'd say, oh, hey, sorry, it's my first week, even though he'd been there for 3 years.
You and bartenders must be that damn vest you wear all the time.
It's because I used to travel for work. So what am I going to do? Sit in the hotel room? No, I go eat dinner, sit at the bar.
Of course you do. Because why go get some sleep?
Oh, no, I get sleep. I'm just saying, like, dinner. I never. So all the time I travel.
I think you said today that you're so tired, or I'm talking on Monday, when we did it on Tuesday. I'm so tired. I went to bed after midnight, 12:30, and got up at 6 a.m. I haven't been up that early in so long.
Because I'm normally a night owl who stays up to what do you call it? Like, I'm up normally till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I get up at 6:15 on days I got to drop my daughter off. But I'm not usually up at 6 and then like going to bed at 1 or whatever, midnight or 1. But yeah, and then what's worse is I kept thinking I'm going to miss the class and I'm going to oversleep. So what happens? You wake up like every hour
alarm
or two. Yeah.
But and that's if I set an alarm, I still wake up before it. But so that's I don't want to keep going on with this. We've been going for 14 minutes on my little thing about voice and inflections. It's so important though.
It is,
because it's so important how you come across, and you have to you have one chance with a sell.
Right.
And that's it, unless you can beg them for a second chance. But it's most of the time you get one chance. There's people a chance to walk up to the door, knock on the door, and you got one chance. The same thing here. You're talking to them on the phone. You need to connect with them right away. Listen to them, listen to the background, listen to certain things. We talked about this, I think, last week on Thursday. Listen to what you're hearing connect with them through that. And that's
Yes.
how you get it through. Right.
Oh, and like we talked about last Thursday, there's a lot of what we were taught through, like I was given how to win friends and influence people. You don't get access to anymore. You don't get to walk into somebody's house right away. People answer the door, stick their head out, or you meet in corporate environments in a conference room versus somebody's office, because they now do all these things to kind of keep vendors at bay versus you go and sit in somebody's office. So how do you build connection with people? So voice is a great way.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but when they knock on my door, they do the ring. And it's like, yes, what do you want?
Exactly.
I don't even open the door. Is that you can't, if you don't open the door, nobody can get in and hurt anybody. Not that I don't have a, American Bully and a Rottweiler in the house. So yeah, come on in, buddy.
You mean the dog that you got to be like Steve?
George?
Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. And actually he will, I just realized February 3rd is when I got him last year.
Oh,
so
wow.
February 3rd will be a year with him. And yeah, and that's the one I found on the trail who, he's become the best dog I've ever had in my life. So
awesome.
No, I wear the t-shirts to be like Steve. So.
That what?
I wear the t-shirts to be like Steve.
Oh, yes.
Not the American Bully.
See, I wear the black t-shirts too, but I do the black V-neck. I'm either vest or V-neck the majority of the time. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right. So enough about me. Let's make it about you.
Sure. So what's the thing that
he really wants to make it about him, as you can tell. See?
Yes, that's right. The thing that really did it for me was body language books, and body language, then how to understand people based on facial features, because I could, I'm fairly fast. I can read things quick. I could understand what the sales script and everything was, but I didn't really know how to pay attention to people because I'd get a little bit ADD and everything else. And then when I first picked up one of the books that really changed my life was What Everybody's Saying by Joe Navarro. It's a very picturesque book on body language. And, when you're being raised up or you first pick up older body language books, it's like, oh, if they've got their arms crossed, it's a big deal. And that was the first book that said, no, not everything's like that, because you have to look for baselines. And then when do people change? And then you learn about your own body language. And that's where one of the books behind me, Janine Driver's book, You Say More Than You Think. I keep that one here because that is, what are you portraying with your own body language? And the reason I keep that out is in trainings, I'll talk about people when they went through the lockdown forgot how to act. I mean, we're lucky they put on pants, for Zoom calls.
Some people didn't.
I know. And but people don't remember, keep it open. People got used to arms crossed, legs crossed, closed, bad posture, you name it. And like you said, we only get a few seconds to make that impression on someone. So
sorry, I'm not ignoring you. Something popped up. I wanted to get rid of it. I apologize for that interruption.
But yeah, it's, what are you portraying through your own body language? And so that was a big one for me, because it helped me stay present in the moment when I was paying attention to body language and what's going on. Because people are nice and they'll nod their head and everything else, but you can tell by body language, are they in agreement or are they lying to you about what they really feel? And I guess lying is a strong word, because they're taught.
Or they do this, right?
Right.
Look at their phone.
Yeah.
Or their
that's a big one. Oh, big one is when you're doing a presentation, everybody's like, uh-huh. Or what's worse is, I would rather you had your phone like this than under the desk. Because I used to be on a presentation team that any customer over $1 million, they flew out 3 of us around the US to do presentations, and body language was a big one. And then the other one was, I got certified back in 2011 on how to understand people based on their facial features. And I went there planning to just blow this guy out. A friend came in from out of town. She's like, hey, let's go to dinner. I got to the restaurant. She's like, oh, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm like, oh, here we go. And she's like, no, you need to come meet this guy. And I'm like, why do I need to come meet this guy? Oh, he can tell you everything based on your face. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. Can he read palms too? And
don't worry, my wife says the same thing about you.
Yeah,
so don't worry about
it. That's fine. And I went over there with all intentions to blow this guy out, right? I was going to wait for him to just use generic horoscope language, Barnum statements, things that could apply to anything in a dog. It wouldn't matter. And this guy was tactical with how he understood. He broke down 8 people at the table based on their facial features. And I was instantly hooked. I bought the book. I actually have the older version of this one. This is his newer one. And I studied that. And what that helped me with was getting out of the prison of my own mind and overthinking things and into the present moment. And that wasn't just at work. That was socially as well. So when I used to go out, that's where I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, what's the thing about you that people don't know about you that you think they should? And my answer was, people think that I'm a wholehearted extrovert, but I'm kind of an ambivert, where I love being around people, but I'm shy at the same time. You know that because you act like my hype man when we go to Steve's events and other things.
And I get that, because people think I'm an introvert. Actually, everybody knows so much about me.
Mhm.
I am a private person until I got on radio and everything else. I didn't tell anybody anything. Nobody knew about me, and people didn't understand me because, first of all, I don't have a lot of facial expressions all the time. My wife gives me this is dead happy, this is dead sad. There is not much. I occasionally laugh when we have fun, but I totally understand that, and where people think you are a certain way when you're complete opposite. Right.
And that's a hard place to be in, because you're stuck in public, but you're on an island by yourself at the exact same time. But that's what changed it for me, is once I learned to focus on other people, I got out of my own way. And a great example of that is, if you've ever read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. In that book, the people who survived the Holocaust and these concentration camps were the people who were like, I want to see my mom again. I want to see my dad again. I want to see my husband. I want to see my wife, whatever. They made it about other people. And when you do that, you can accomplish so much more than you can if you're just thinking about you and what you need. And that goes right back to, are you taking care of the customer, or are you thinking about your commission? And that's really what learning to analyze faces did for me. Was it got me to looking and thinking, okay, I know what I need to say, but how do I speak their language? And you just make little tweaks to your presentation based on how you think your customer would best want to hear it or understand it. And that's what took me from being on the help desk to a regional vice president of sales.
Right. And on stages everywhere.
Oh yeah. And on stages. I mean,
oh, let's just drop that.
Yeah. Well, it's true though. I mean,
and actually
Steve, yeah.
Go ahead. No, but the stage part, I was like, I looked at your website the other day, and I looked at your one sheet. I was like, wow, this stuff's amazing. Why is he on more stages? And it's probably because you haven't put yourself out there enough.
No, I was a 21.5-year employee, and I was afraid to really put myself out there because I made good money. And now that's not the case. Now this is my primary job. So now that is the 2023 goal, is more stages, more ability to impact other people like I was impacted. Because the guy that changed my life, Mac Fulfer, had I not met him, I'd probably still be on the help desk, or maybe a sales engineer or something very low key behind the scenes. And I'd probably still be in the prison of my own mind. And when I first met my ex-wife, she asked on one of our first dates, like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to travel the world and teach people something. And that hasn't changed. And that was 15 years ago. Is I like going and teaching people. And the side effect of that is you get to stick around and hear what the other speakers say and learn from those speakers as well. I think you and I talked after I got back from the event with Qasim and Steve in Arizona. And it's just being in the room with people who are interested in learning more. There's a different atmosphere around that. Right. And that's the people that are, in my opinion, make the best salespeople are the people who are constantly trying to improve and be around other people. And like, what else can I learn? What else should I try? And that's another big thing, is you have to be willing to not just go, oh, I learned this one trick. It worked for me a few times, so I'm never going to learn anything else. You have to constantly be learning that new joker skill over and over again.
Because, like you say, your other alter ego is Batman, and you like all the little tool belts and have all those little tools on it. And that's, you have your joker, but you can always add more jokers, right? Cards. Right, to what you're going. Where'd he go? He left the room. Is he okay? I don't know. No, trying to put on.
That's what somebody sent me for my birthday.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll probably hurt myself with it at some point.
You probably will. Yeah, put it down before you start bleeding all over the place, and get back on screen. You're not supposed to leave the screen when you're here on a live. Anyway, so we got rid of Brian today. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Have you ever heard of giving the gift to someone missing you? Look, that's what I just gave everyone.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yes, and then I came back and they were all elated.
Oh, it's still him. I thought he was going to change. He'll never change. He'll still be Brian.
That's right.
Or Quasimodo.
I sound like somebody else in my life.
Let's move on from that. No, but and back to your statement about going to different events, and that's why we want to put on. You get so much from the people in the audience besides the people on stage, and that's why it's important. And it doesn't matter who you go to or what you go to. Just make sure you go through stuff, and you can learn. If you pick up one thing from each event, that's all you need to do. And that's I learned one thing. Or, I mean, the last couple of events we've been at, it's like, how many more people have I met? And now is in our wheelhouse and they're all, it's amazing the people you meet. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. And the more you show up at things like that, you start to recognize other people, and then they introduce you to somebody else.
Right.
I mean, twice we went to Secret Knock. I mean, the first time we went, I just barely met you through Steve.
I went one time.
I thought you went twice.
One time.
Oh,
one and done.
Oh, I thought you.
Not that it's a bad event. It's just
right.
I had other things at the same time. So, and that's the problem is, some of the things are all the time, and you just can't go to the same things all the time.
How many have I been to? Maybe
I've been to a lot.
I've only been to 2.
Right, but you've been to his academy, other thing at his house.
Yeah, I've been to Prosperity Camp. That's going on this week. I would have loved to have been there, but I can't swing it this week.
I was going through my pictures of, because putting it in my ed folder so I can use it for my new stuff I'm going to do. Came across the one where he's on my back. He jumped on my back at that event that Steve put on in San Diego the first time I met you.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like he goes, let's do this right. And he jumps on my back. I'm like, you better be happy. You're only like 10 pounds.
He's doing the recruiting and everything for the one coming up in March. It's March 21st through the 23rd. And I think it'll be back to like the one that you were at where it was at the casino. Mm. That red tie affair or black, what was it? The red carpet event. That was a lot of fun. So not only do you get to learn from a lot of speakers, but he throws a hell of a party that last night too.
But enough about everybody else.
Yeah.
You trying to get back on a stage?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. It's funny. I see your picture of you and that I took other places. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I try to help everybody I can help, and it was like, do you get paid for it? No, it's not about that.
It's about supporting other people. It's exactly what we're talking about, right? If you take care of other people, they eventually take care of you too. So
it's you get from getting.
Yes. And I was talking about this with somebody.
You get from giving. Did I say that right? I hope I did.
You get from giving. So when you give, then you receive. Yeah. I was talking about this with somebody else the other day, and that is, it's
you talk to other people.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Sorry to break it to you. Yes.
Cheater.
If you say I'm going to hire a personal trainer or a nutritionist, people are like, oh, absolutely. If you say I'm going to go to an event, their first question is work paying for it.
Right. You said that last Thursday on the
was that what I was?
live we were on together.
Okay. I knew I said to somebody. I just can't remember. Look, when brilliance just leaks out like this, I don't write it down on the calendar.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's true. It's again, that's the difference from an owner and an employee. Right. I remember when I worked for a guy, I thought I spent his money the way I would spend my money as an owner. Mm-hmm. You don't. You think you do, but you don't, because you can't. Just no way. You don't have the stress of everything. And that's why a lot of times you see a lot more companies of one, because you don't want to do all the other stuff and keep people on for as long. That's why when you talked about our last show about VAs and everything else, or was that this show? I can't remember. It's been too many of them.
It was the previous week.
And how that's changing the workplace. Right. And I don't know if I'd said this last week, but on all my other shows, I've said it, where 89 million people have quit work in the last 3 years. And it's like, where did they go? What are they doing? Right.
And that's just it. Yeah. We talked about that last week, how a lot of people after number one resigned. And then when companies started saying, hey, come back in, people are like, no, I'm not going to do it. And the danger that we talked about in the last show was, well, if you push too hard to say, I can do my job from home, if you don't stand out and you're not a rock star in your profession, you now have set it up to be potentially replaced by somebody who will do it somewhere else in the world at a lesser cost.
Right. And that doesn't mean that they do it better than you. It's just at a huge lesser cost.
Right.
So. But yeah, I think it's important to have your aces and joker in place.
So absolutely. Keep learning new skills. Like we're talking about today we're just talking about the skill that had the major impact. But to your point, I can go to anything and learn one new thing to add to my portfolio, learn a way to do something differently. Qasim got up and talked when I went to an event in Arizona a week and a half ago, and I was expecting him to go talk strictly about Google advertising and marketing. He talked about, are you setting up your finances right? Are you setting up the way you spend money, what you do with your business? Are you replaceable? What can you automate? All things that I did not expect him to do. And I'm like, God, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
If I would have known that so much younger.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is that people these days have so many things at their disposal that we didn't have. Right. And certain things that changes certain things. And that's why I've seen a lot of stuff come in. I remember when the internet came in, when Al Gore set it up, created it, I should say. Har, har, har. You have to be old to know that one joke. Yeah. That it was going to get rid of everything, right? They're no longer needed for the phone and all this other stuff. That's not the case, but you don't really need landlines anymore.
Nope.
Right. But if you want to get a good deal on your cable and internet, you got to get a stupid landline with it. It comes for free. No. So you unplug the damn thing and don't ever answer it. But, it certain technology things that changes things was supposed to get rid of. The fax machine and the copier were supposed to get rid of, fax machine was supposed to get rid of paper. Computers were supposed to be not needed. That's not the case. We use more paper now than we've ever used.
Right.
And it's still, my industry, we're paperless, but my staff still sometimes print stuff out just to have it in their hands. Right. It's like, why are you wasting
some people
paper?
Are kinesthetic, right? That's how.
Yeah, well, you got 3 monitors. Why do you need that in your hand?
Well, let me tell you, government entities, it amazes me what they will still send like letters on. Like, why are we not like there's state of Texas, if you're dealing with them on anything, everything comes snail mail. IRS, all snail mail. Like, why is it not email? And I get it because people think if every email that came from the IRS, but it's like this day and age.
The reason is because they want to keep the post office open.
Oh, that's probably true.
Government. They want to support the post office. Think about it.
Oh God, I'm telling you,
it's a vicious circle.
Yes,
they want to keep that they spend
moves
more money.
Very slow in that circle.
Yeah, that's right. It's in Modesto to send a letter to somebody in Modesto from Modesto. It takes 5 days.
Well, that's because you live out there with Pony Express.
No,
right?
It's freaking. It's just they go, they take it, they send it to this like Stockton and then send it back. It's so stupid. Yeah, it's like. But that's because it's run by a government agency who doesn't really care about the money because it's not their money. It's taxpayers' money. And that's why we say when you start your own company, you do certain things, you pay, it's your money and you have to know how to spend it and be careful how you spend your money because 3 things will take down a businessman. What are the 3 L's that'll take down a businessman?
I don't know.
Liquor, ladies, and leverage. Liquor, ladies, and leverage.
Did you just assume the gender?
Yeah, I was talking about me as a guy. I can't. What's it, licorice?
Yeah.
Leverage.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come up with new ones on that.
That's what takes down because it used to be only that was an old saying that was stated because back then most business owners were men. Now it's not the case. A ton of women are business owners and they do a better job. So. The only person who couldn't be a business owner that I know is my wife because she's a nurse and she'd yell at every customer. She'd be the rudest.
You come in and talk to the customers and then
well, they don't want my thing. They don't want. Yeah. Love her to death, but she would not be a good salesperson.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty much the show. Hey, how'd I get over here?
I thought you put yourself there.
I did.
You missed it. You missed it. Oh,
now you can say, now you take the mouse, move it up, and say goodbye.
Well, goodbye. Is that what I say?
Up at there. And I'm just letting you're controlling this. When you start controlling, I'm letting you finish it.
Yeah.
And
we are.
I want to thank you for showing up today. That's you, Brian. I want to thank everybody else who came and watched. And we know a lot of you, at 10 a.m. in the morning have other things. That's Pacific time. You can figure it out wherever you live. Have a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people do a lot of lives. And we understand you're going to see it later, or if not, we'll cut it up and we'll show it to you on Instagram and other places eventually. So thank you.
That's right. Everybody have
we got to get enough VAs and everything else out there.
It's true. Very, very true.
Yeah. So. Or it's got to find some AI that you can just go here, figure out the best part of my video. That's
somebody sent me. I'll have to send you another website that you basically send them a video and they'll send you back 12 cuts overnight.
For how much?
Pricey. That's what I was gonna say. It's really pricey, but it's crazy just what's out there versus if you don't want to go VA, there's now just full service websites that you send it to.
Well, there's a lot of those, and they when they get it, why it's overnight is because they go to the Philippines.
Yep.
That's how they get it back in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah. So. But what they say, and this is not what we're talking about here, but to do lives and then take the live and cut it up to a video part, right? Mm-hmm. And then repost that on YouTube, and then take that same video, cut it up into multiple sections. And what you should do is watch while you're talking where the time number is and write down the time that you said started and time that you can get closer into where you're trying to do it. And that's the best way to do it for most people.
Well, there's entire people that their job is to spot what they say is the best part of the conversation. And then they send it to the video team and say, go cut it from here. It's crazy. One of the guys I know, that's what one of his VA does. He just looks for what he thinks is the hot spots within that conversation.
I need that VA. So talk to me about that afterwards. All right. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being here, Ed. Yeah, well, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you showed up.
All right, everybody.
Everybody
Thank you
have
again.
a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.